we're recording. So, where were you born, on what date, where at?
Well, haven't gone too far from the tree, really. Well, I was born on March the 28th, 1957, and I was born in Kaiser Hospital. In their
Same hospital Mom works at?
same hospital that Mom works at.
Wait, but not
Though-
Fontana.
Fontana.
Oh, Fontana, wow. That's cool.
Fontana. In fact, they recently got rid of the building that within like 2 years ago, they just tore it down and put up a whole new wing where the wing was where I was born. They'd been there all that time. In fact, Mom worked in the same wing that I was born for a lot of years.
Wow, that's an old hospital.
That's an old hospital, yeah. It was originally built to service Kaiser Steel employees.
That's cool.
So that's why they call it Kaiser Hospital, because it was for Kaiser Steel.
Cool. Is there any stories you remember about your birth?
Well, I remember that my mother said that that she worked and worked and worked and worked to get me out, and I guess she spent 48 hours pushing, and I wouldn't come, so they took me C-section. And when I was born, I was, what was I, 24 pounds and, no, what was it?
24.
No, 24 inches.
Oh my, what?
24 inches and 1 ounce less than 10 pounds
Wow,
when I was born.
pretty good.
And everybody, and I was bald as a billiard ball for a year. Had no hair for at least a year. So maybe that's why I still have hair now, I don't know. But
What happened?
no. I used to have some hair left.
Okay. So what was your first vivid memory of your childhood? Something that you can remember.
I can remember being sealed to my parents in the sealing room. My mother joined the church, I guess, when I was about a year and a half old. And the missionaries worked on her, I think, for 2 years or so. And she was a confirmed Baptist and a smoker. And so she had to give up smoking, and every week the ward missionaries would come by and she'd have a list of questions for them. And when she ran out of questions, then she had to give up smoking and join the church. And then after that, then we were sealed as a family. And I don't know how old I was, but I know we had me and Cynthia and I think Craig. And I think Clark was born under the covenant. But I remember going and dressing in white, playing in the nursery, and then dressing in white, and going and kneeling beside my parents in the sealing room.
That's cool. It's really, really cool. Does your name have any significance?
Well, yeah, I guess it does, the front of my mother. Of course, my name is Clifford Francis Haddon, and my mother always wanted a big, strong son. And so that's one thing I've probably been all my life, is a pretty good-sized guy, 6'6", and we won't talk about how heavy I am.
Deal.
But you don't want to get on a teeter-totter with me, or be on the other side of a tug-of-war rope.
Okay. What was the very first house or apartment that you can remember living in with your parents? What was it like? Like, what was the neighborhood like? What was the house?
I know the house very well. It was 6500 Fremont Street in Riverside, California.
I know that house.
And when we lived there, there was a great big apricot tree, and we used to climb up in that apricot tree or climb up on the adjacent wall and pick apricots all summer long. We used to, behind the house was nothing but fields for miles and miles and miles. And I used to go off in those fields and find all manner of, you name it, scorpions and centipedes and snakes and lizards. In fact, probably one of the most interesting stories I remember about that, I remember I was probably 7 or 8 years of age, and Mom was kind of tucking me into bed, and I had told her that I'd been off in those hills near some rocks, and I had come this close to catching a jackrabbit. And she said to me, "There is no way you'll ever catch a jackrabbit." And I know, Mom, you know, I was probably within about 3 feet of catching this jackrabbit. I'm telling you, I'm pretty close. And she says, "Cliff, I will bet you $1 million that you'll never catch a jackrabbit." And probably 3 or 4 days later, I'm off looking for snakes, and I turn over an old car hood, and underneath that car hood is a jackrabbit. Wasn't completely a jackrabbit, about a complete adult, but it was probably a good 1.5 years old, and good size. And I managed to get a hold of it, and it went one way, then it went another, and I dived on the ground and I caught this jackrabbit. And this jackrabbit scratched the bejeebers out of my arms and my chest, and I don't even think I had a shirt on at that time. And it just ripped me to shreds. But finally, I just remembered that Mother said she'd pay me $1 million if I caught a jackrabbit. And so I managed to get both of its hind legs in one hand, and I kind of grabbed it by its head and ears on the other. You're not supposed to do that, but I wasn't going to lose this jackrabbit. And this jackrabbit kicked me. I was probably at least a mile away, and this thing kicked me for, the whole way. But I did not let go of that. In fact, the jackrabbit was a little bloody from me bleeding on it, but I got it home and we put it in a cage, and to this day she has never paid me my $1 million.
Man.
I'm telling you, I get no respect.
So I remember you telling a couple stories about you and your dad, Grandpa Frank, working on a few things. I remember there was like some kind of irrigation story in the front yard with Cynthia.
Yeah, that's true. This Fremont Street house that we had was on a septic tank, but the city had put a line in from the street, and we had the option to attach to it. And we had a few septic problems, and so Dad decided, kind of got a wild hair, that he wanted to go ahead and plumb the sewage out into this stub up that was provided by the city, so that we could be on a sewer system instead of being on a septic tank. And we started off at the house at about probably 3.5, 4 feet down, and we gradually sloped out 20 feet down to about 8 feet or so. And then we made a 45-degree turn and gradually sloped down to 16 feet. And my dad would go and work on that for 2 or 3 hours every day, and through the summer months. And I don't remember how old I was, but probably 8 or 9, 10 years old, not too old. And I don't know if you ever dug a hole like that, but once you dig down so far, it's really hard to throw dirt up that huge distance. You know, once you get above the height of your body, it's pretty hard.
You get tired.
And you get tired, and it's, half the dirt you throw up ends up back on you. So what he would do would be fill up a bucket, you know, halfway or 3/4 of the way, and I had a rope, and I had to pull the rope up. He would help me for the first little bit, and then I'd take it the rest of the way, and then dump it on the side of the trench and put it back down there. Or he had another bucket, he'd be starting to fill the second bucket, and then I'd put down the first bucket again, and we'd go like that until he got tired, and I got so tired, and then we'd come back at it the next day. And meanwhile, we dug that huge trench out 20 feet and probably 45-degree angle in between the two trees that were there, and down 16 feet to where we met the tank or the line coming out from the city. And we attached piping all the way to that, and we got towards the ends of the job, and we're finishing up the piping and stuff. And my sister was standing, so now on the part of the hole that's 16 feet deep, my sister is standing on the very edge of that hole. And I'm telling her, no, 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 no. Dad said don't stand on the edge. It'll give way, and you'll fall down into the bottom of this hole and get hurt on the pipe. And Cindy must have been all of 6 years old or something like that, but she thought she knew everything. And so she said, you won't fall, there's no problem. See, and she's jumping up and down on the side of this 16-foot hole with cement clay pipe down the bottom. And she's teasing me, and she's taunting me, you know. See, you're just a sissy, you're just scared, nothing will ever happen. And she's jumping up and down to beat the band on the side, right on the very edge of this hole. And so now I'm a little perturbed, and so I come a little further, closer to the edge, and no sooner did I get within 6 inches of the edge that the edge broke loose, and I fell down to 16 feet and hit my backside right on the cement pipe. And I was so worried Dad was going to beat the snot out of me, and he didn't. He raced over there, and he was really worried that I was really hurt, and I was covered in mud from head to toe. And we had one of those little wading pools, and he said, go get in the pool and get cleaned up. And that's really all that happened to me. But I learned a lesson. Never listen to your sister.